You know that feeling when everything you've tried to keep private suddenly becomes public? When the carefully managed version of your life collides with the messy reality you've been hiding. Hello, viewers. Before we dive into this dirty laundry of Fergie, please take a moment and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Your support allows us to update you with more fascinating news from the British monarchy. For decades, Fergie has walked a tightrope. She's been out of the royal family, but not really out. She's maintained relationships while living on the margins. She's rebuilt her reputation through charity work, media appearances, and sheer force of personality, all while keeping certain things carefully hidden. But here's the thing about secrets in the digital age. They don't stay secret forever. And when they don't come out gently. Sarah Ferguson's dirty laundry has just been hung out for everyone to see. And according to royal insiders, she now has only one option left. Today, we're talking about what that option is, why she's been backed into this corner, and what all of us can learn from watching someone face the consequences of choices they thought they'd left behind. Let's start with context, because Sarah Ferguson's story is about more than just scandal. It's about someone who's been trying to rewrite her narrative for 30 years. She married Prince Andrew in 1986 in a fairy tale wedding. She was the fun royal, the relatable one, the breath of fresh air in a stuffy institution. For a while, she was beloved. But by 1992, the marriage was falling apart, and it fell apart very publicly. Remember the toe-sucking photos? The financial scandals? The accusations that she was using her royal connection to make money inappropriately? It was tabloid gold and personal devastation. She and Andrew divorced in 1996, but here's where it gets interesting. They never really separated. They've lived together on and off, raised their daughters together, and maintained what they describe as a close friendship. Some have speculated they never stopped being in love, they just couldn't stay married. For the past few decades, Sarah has been on a redemption tour. She's written books, done charity work, appeared on television, and carefully rebuilt her public image from disgraced duchess to resilient survivor. She's talked openly about her mistakes, her struggles with weight and self-esteem, her journey to self-acceptance. It's been a masterclass in reputation management. Until now. So what exactly has been exposed that's left Sarah with only one option? The revelations tie directly to the Epstein files and the ongoing scrutiny of Prince Andrew. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Sarah's connection to that world was deeper than she's ever publicly admitted. Reports indicate that Sarah accepted financial help from Jeffrey Epstein. We're not talking about a small loan between acquaintances. We're talking about significant money at a time when she was drowning in debt. Money that came with knowledge of who Epstein was and what he represented. Now, Sarah has previously admitted to this, sort of. Back in 2011, she told reporters that accepting money from Epstein was a gigantic error of judgment. But the new revelations show the connection was more extensive and more recent than she'd acknowledged. The carefully worded apologies and the "it was just once when I was desperate" narrative don't match the documentation that's now emerged. There are also questions about what she knew regarding Andrew's relationship with Epstein. Remember, Sarah and Andrew were living together during many of the key years of Andrew's friendship with Epstein. She would have known about the visits, the trips, the ongoing relationship. She would have been aware of concerns people were raising. Yet publicly, she stood by Andrew without question. She's defended him, minimized the allegations, and presented their relationship as wholesome and innocent. He's a good man, she said repeatedly. People don't understand him. But here's the problem. When documentation contradicts your narrative, and when your own financial entanglements with the same cast of characters come to light, your defense of someone else starts to look less like loyalty and more like self-preservation. So what's the one option royal insiders say Sarah has left? Full transparency, complete honesty, a proper reckoning with everything she's known, everything she's done, and everything she's hidden. Not a carefully worded statement through a spokesperson. Not a strategic interview where she cries and apologizes without providing real information. Not another "I made mistakes, but I've learned and grown" redemption narrative. Actual, uncomfortable, complete truth-telling. Here's why that's her only option. The alternative is worse. If Sarah continues to deny, minimize, or deflect, Every new document that emerges will make her look more dishonest. Every revelation will chip away at the reputation she's spent decades rebuilding. She'll go from flawed but honest to actively deceptive. If she tries to stay silent, that silence will be interpreted as complicity. People will assume the worst, and unlike in the past, there's now documentation to support those assumptions. If she doubles down on defending Andrew while her own connections to Epstein are being exposed, she'll lose any remaining credibility she has. You can't be both a victim of circumstance and a fierce defender of someone whose circumstances are nearly identical to yours. The only way forward is through complete honesty about what she knew, when she knew it, what she accepted, and why. An accounting that doesn't hide behind errors and judgment, but actually grapples with the moral and ethical dimensions of her choices. Will she take this option? That's the question everyone's asking. Let's talk about why full transparency is so difficult, because understanding that helps us understand why people in Sarah's position so often choose the wrong path. First, there's the legal risk. Admitting things you've previously denied or minimized can have legal consequences. It can open you up to lawsuits, criminal investigations, or other legal jeopardy. Lawyers almost always advise their clients to say as little as possible. Second, there's the relationship risk. Sarah's relationship with Andrew is the most important relationship in her life. Being fully honest about what she knew regarding his activities might damage or destroy that relationship. She's choosing between integrity and the person she loves. Third, there's the identity risk. Fourth, there's the practical risk. Sarah's income depends on her reputation and her royal connection. Books, speaking engagements, media appearances, all of that goes away if she becomes truly toxic. Full honesty might mean financial ruin at a time when she's finally achieved some stability. So when I say she has only one option, I don't mean it's an easy option. I mean it's the only option that leads anywhere worth going. Every other path leads to a different kind of destruction, slower, perhaps, but just as complete. Here's where this becomes about more than just Sarah Ferguson. How many of us are carrying things we hope never come to light? Not necessarily Epstein-level scandals, but things we've done, things we've known, choices we've made that don't match the image we present to the world. Maybe it's how you really got that job. Maybe it's what you knew about a friend's behavior but never spoke up about. Maybe it's the real reason a relationship ended. Maybe it's who you were before you became who you are now. We all have a gap between our public narrative and our private truth. The question is, what do we do when that gap gets exposed? Sarah Ferguson's situation teaches us several crucial lessons. 1. Partial honesty is not honesty. When you admit to errors and judgment without acknowledging the full scope of what you did and knew, you're not being honest, you're managing damage. And managed damage has a way of becoming unmanaged as time goes on and more information emerges. 2. You can't selectively support people who are accused of wrongdoing while claiming ignorance about your own involvement in the same circles. It doesn't work logically, and people see through it emotionally. 3. Redemption narratives that skip the full reckoning part are built on sand. Real redemption requires actually confronting what you did wrong, not just admitting you made mistakes in vague terms, and then moving on to who you are now. 4. The longer you wait to tell the truth, the harder it becomes and the less credible it sounds. If Sarah had been fully honest about the Epstein money and what she knew about Andrew's relationship with him back in 2011 or 2015 or 2019, it would have been painful but believable. Waiting until documents force the issue makes it look like she's only being honest because she has no choice. Here's what I find myself wondering. Is real redemption even possible at this point? I think it is, but it requires something we rarely see from public figures: genuine contrition without self-justification. What would that look like for Sarah? It would mean saying, I knew more than I admitted. I accepted help from someone I knew was dangerous because I needed the money, and I made peace with my conscience by not thinking too hard about where it came from. I defended Andrew not just out of love, but because my own involvement made it impossible for me to be objective. I built a redemption narrative that was incomplete because telling the whole truth was too frightening. That kind of honesty would be devastating. It would mean admitting that the person we've watched on television for the past decade, the person who seemed so authentic and vulnerable, was still hiding the most important parts of the story. But it would also be powerful, because everyone who's watching Sarah Ferguson's situation is doing so through the lens of their own hidden things. We're all wondering what we would do if our carefully managed narratives collapsed. If Sarah chose complete honesty now, real honesty, uncomfortable honesty, she'd give permission for all of us to be more honest about our own compromises and justifications. The stakes here go beyond Sarah's reputation or Andrew's legal problems. This is about whether people who've been adjacent to terrible things, who benefited from relationships with people doing harm, who knew more than they said, who prioritized their own interests over asking hard questions, can find their way back to integrity. Sarah Ferguson is standing at a crossroads that a lot of people find themselves at eventually. You can keep managing the narrative, keep trying to control what people know, keep deflecting and minimizing. Or you can tell the truth and deal with the consequences. One path leads to a slower death of credibility. The other leads through fire, but potentially to the other side. The tragedy is that Sarah has made the wrong choice at every previous crossroads. The toe-sucking photos, she minimized. The cash for access scandal, she apologized but justified. The Epstein money, she admitted it but downplayed it. Each time, she chose damage control over real honesty. Now she's out of runway. The documentation is too extensive. The contradictions are too obvious. The public patience is too thin. She has one option left, and it's the option she should have taken the first time. Tell the whole truth. Sarah Ferguson's dirty laundry being hung out to dry isn't just her problem. It's a case study in how we all handle the gap between who we claim to be and who we actually are. Will she choose full transparency? Will she finally tell the complete truth about what she knew, when she knew it, and what she did with that knowledge? I honestly don't know. The pull to keep protecting yourself, your relationships, and your income is incredibly strong. And Sarah has never chosen the harder path when an easier one was available. But here's what I do know. We're all watching because we're all wondering what we would do in her situation. We all have things we hope stay hidden. We all have narratives we've crafted that are incomplete or strategic. Sarah Ferguson's moment of reckoning is a mirror for our own compromises. For those of you in your 20s, pay attention to this. Every time you make a choice you hope people don't find out about, you're creating a future moment just like this. Build a life you don't have to hide. For those with more years behind you, you know that the truth catches up eventually. The question is whether you face it voluntarily or wait for it to be dragged out of you. If this resonated with you, subscribe to this channel. We're going to keep exploring how people handle accountability, how truth emerges even when people try to suppress it, and how the choices we make in private eventually become public knowledge. Hit that notification bell, because Sarah Ferguson's story isn't over, and neither are the stories of countless others facing similar reckonings. Thanks for watching. And remember, you only have one option when the truth catches up with you. Tell it yourself, with full honesty, before it gets told for you. The only question is whether you're brave enough to take that option.